The first step that the Apostolate sets forth for us on this path to holiness is the message of hope. What is the message of hope? The message of hope is a presentation that outlines for us in 4 points, first of all, the problem in the world and how people need to know the problem. It outlines for us the solution and how few people really understand the solution. It outlines for us your role and my role. Additionally, it lays out the call to holiness and explains the multiplying power of consecration. That 4-point presentation can transform lives if people pay attention and listen to the problem, the solution, and their role. I'm going to give you an analogy to help you understand how powerful the message of hope is. The message of hope is like your family life from the standpoint of, in your family life, it's like you're flying along and you have all your children in the airplane and mom and dad, you're the pilots. And what happens? On the instrument panel, there's a warning that comes off. And that's what the message of hope is. It's a warning. It's an alert. And it says, stop. There's something wrong. What's wrong? What you realize is the alert is saying there's a loss of oxygen. And as the pilot, you think, okay, that's a dangerous situation because the loss of oxygen actually begins to impair your thinking and cloud your judgment. Even in imperceptible ways. You don't even realize how it's affecting you, but it is. The same goes for the loss of oxygen is very similar in our families to the loss of grace. With the loss of grace, our judgment becomes clouded, our thinking becomes impaired, even if we don't realize that it's happening. And so what are we called to do? The pilot sees the warning, he pushes the button so that there will be oxygen masks that'll drop for himself and for the family. So it's a simple step to take. And we need to push the button, and that's the purpose of the message of hope, to get families to push the button, to get the oxygen mask to fall. Why? Because when we do so, we not only, in the plane, you get the oxygen flowing, in the plane of our family, we get the life of grace flowing. We get that grace flowing by understanding what is the problem, what is the solution, understanding that we need to breathe in grace and we need to invoke the powerful patronage of the Holy Family by renewing our baptismal vows. And all of those goals are accomplished when we listen to the message of hope and participate in the renewal of our baptismal vows at the end by consecrating ourselves to Jesus through Mary. Now, what happens if you're on an airplane and the pilot says, okay, we have a loss of oxygen, and they push the button, the oxygen jungle falls, and the flight attendants tell you, okay, first of all, adults, put your mask on, and then put on the mask of your children. Now, how crazy is it if you don't do that? You say, well, I'll take care of my children. So the pilot gets out of the seat, comes back, and starts putting it on his children. Isn't that like families who drop their children off at Sunday school, yet the parents aren't involved in a life of grace? What happens? What happens to the plane when the pilot doesn't have his oxygen mask on and he starts losing oxygen? The plane crashes. It goes down. And isn't it horrible? How many times do we see around us when a family crashes, they often bring another family with them. It's not just one plane going down, it's often 2 planes or 3 planes because the ripple effect of a family crashing often affects many other families. And not only does one family, is there the possibility that the family can crash, oftentimes the family sinks into the abyss. And you start to see that ripple down from generation to generation. So pilots, moms, dads, we need to put on our oxygen mask, and that's the purpose of the message of hope, to teach you that so we can reach out and live a life of grace.